Can everybody hear me?
I can. Good afternoon, Trustee Hawes. How are you today?
Good. Good, Trustee Schmidt. How about you?
I'm well, thanks.
Good. Thank you.
Well, it is 2 o'clock, and we are having a special board meeting for the Boise School District on March 7th. We're waiting for one more trustee, and hopefully she will log on soon. Maria Greeley, I'm not sure if she's attempting or not at this point. But we will wait a couple minutes just to let her have a chance to log in. This is going to be a virtual meeting, so most of the trustees are not on location. I am Dave Wagers. I'm president of the board. I am on location at the Boise School District, but the remaining trustees are, they have real lives and they're working. So they're either in their homes or they're in offices or getting stuff done. So we'll wait just a couple minutes to see if we can get Maria on, and then we will proceed with the meeting. Mm-hmm.
President Wagers, is Trustee Greeley expected to be on the call?
She was expected, so that's why I'm waiting. But I think we will probably, at this point, we're 4 minutes in. I think we will probably go ahead and proceed, and hopefully
Okay.
she will be able to log in.
Okay.
But first of all, we'll start with a roll call by the clerk. So Clerk Mass, could you do a roll call of the trustees?
Trustee Gregory,
Here.
Trustee Hawes,
Here.
Trustee Langley,
Here.
Trustee Oppenheimer,
Here.
Trustee Schmidt,
Here.
Trustee Wagers.
Here. The only one missing currently is Trustee Greeley. Hopefully she'll be able to join us during the meeting. First of all, good afternoon and welcome to the Boise School District Board of Trustees March 7th special board meeting. Before we start, I would like to remind everybody that we conduct our meetings according to district values of respect, dignity, honesty, responsibility, and teamwork. We have a short meeting plan tonight. We only have, this afternoon, we only have one agenda item, and that is the agenda item consideration to end mask mandates. And with that, we will go straight to Deputy Superintendent Roberts, who will do a presentation from the administration.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, President Wagers, trustees. We are going to run you through just a very quick presentation and would like to start off with the interests of our health and safety plan. So our neighborhood public schools play an essential role, as we all know, in the vibrancy, unity, and well-being of our community. We will remain firmly grounded in our interests. And with that in mind, we will offer a high-quality, comprehensive educational experience 5 days a week, be clear, consistent, and sustainable in our approach to mitigation. Respond in a thoughtful and least restrictive way. We provide a laser-focused response to keep the impact on families, students, and staff minimal. We'll be mindful and supportive of physical, social, and emotional well-being of our students, staff, families, and the community. And of course, we will maintain our ongoing relationship and communication with local community health professionals. So based on that today, I know that I wanted to cover quickly our current conditions. So community transmission of infectious disease, according to the CDC, says that we are now in the medium rate or the yellow category. That is 1,174 cases per 100,000 and hospital admissions at 7.4 per 100,000. Spread of infectious disease in our schools, the week of January 17th, we saw 952 positive cases with 529 quarantines.
Excuse me, President Wagers, can we change the slide? Thank you.
The week of February 7th, we saw 147 positive cases and 62 quarantines. This last week, we saw 16 positive cases and 10 quarantines. All great trends that we're seeing as our numbers move down. Operational impact of employee and student absenteeism. In January, our overall fill rate for substitutes was 61%. Certified fill rate was 74%. If you remember, we had a lot of staff in this building, as well as our folks in our buildings helping cover for substitutes. February, our overall fill rate was at 74%, and our certified fill rate was at 84%. Again, this is important for our operations in order for us to maintain school. And then input from healthcare professionals. So the CDC did change their guidance as of 2/25/22. And again, they've determined that we are in that yellow category. So we did speak with Dr. Kenny Bramwell and Dr. Mark Nasser Thursday evening after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention published that Ada County had moved from high transmission of COVID-19 to medium transmission. When we asked about the CDC's guidance that masks do not have to be worn indoors if the community is at a medium level of transmission, they confirmed that universal mask wearing is the safest option in our schools. They did say, however, if we were to move to masks recommended or optional and not required, those individuals who chose to continue to wear a mask would continue to have increased protection against COVID-19. Dr. Bramwell also cautioned that while we are technically in a yellow zone for local cases, there are many cases that have not been recorded yet. He indicated we could falsely be in a yellow zone right now, or in a week or 2 weeks, if those cases were to catch up at once, it could put us back into a red category. In addition, they also confirmed, which is great information for our health systems, that the number of COVID cases in their health systems has dropped to levels similar to before the Delta and Omicron variant surges. So these are the conditions that we said we would be very thoughtful and measured in watching and considering. So based on that, on whatever date the board chooses, the administration would recommend that we make face coverings recommended for those who are unvaccinated and optional for those who are vaccinated, based on the conditions we just talked about. We would also recommend, though, that you maintain the date of 3/28 as March 28th as the implementation date for the updated health and safety plan, as we decided at our last meeting. But if you decide now to end the mask mandate, we would just say that before we put in all the other pieces of our updated health and safety plan, we wait until March 28th. And I can stand for questions.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent Roberts. Are there any questions on the presentation for Deputy Superintendent Roberts?
President Wagers?
Was that Trustee Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Deputy Superintendent Roberts, the fill rates, the percentage seems to be doing a lot better. And I know that we've talked about this before, but what is the average fill rate for both classified and, or for certified and the other category?
President Wagers, Trustee Oppenheimer, it truly depends on the time of year. But generally we are around the low 90s.
Okay.
I think Trustee Schmidt had a question as well.
Thank you, President Wagers. Deputy Superintendent Roberts, just if you could maybe clarify again the distinction between updated health and safety plan implementation date of March 28th and a mask optional date of something else. How if masks were to be made optional sooner, how does that impact the updated health and safety plan implementation?
President Wagers, Trustee Schmidt. So there are a lot of different pieces to that updated health and safety plan. So it, involves getting back to more routine activities in our schools, a lot of different aspects. And we would just say that because that's something that our schools have been planning on, we would like to see us wait until March 28th to implement that portion. But we know one portion of the plan said that if we move to the updated health and safety plan, masks would be optional. So this would be just moving that portion up.
Does that answer your question, Trustee Schmidt?
It does. Thank you.
Looks like
President
Trustee
Wagers?
Hawes.
Sorry, President Wagers, thank you. So Deputy Superintendent Roberts, so is it fair to say that we're still on our current COVID plan, and what the thought is because of the transmissions being lower and those other factors that you've identified, that the thought is to remove this mitigation tool off the table under the current plan as adopted?
President Wagers, Trustee Hawes, yes, that's exactly right. So currently we're under a mask mandate, and that would be the one piece of our current safety plan that would change should you choose to end the mask mandate.
Okay, thank you.
And then Trustee Langley.
Yes, thank you. So, Deputy Superintendent, would we be changing our tracking of COVID, or how would that affect how we report and track COVID?
President Wagers, Trustee Langley, we would continue to report on our district site spreadsheet.
President Wagers.
Trustee Gregory.
Thank you. Deputy Superintendent Roberts, I just wanted to clarify or do a follow-up on Trustee Schmidt's question. As in, I understand that in some of our buildings, they have practices for social distancing, practices for mitigation during certain activities that happen inside the building, et cetera, and so forth. And what you're asking is that we just allow principals the time to kind of undo some of those things in a way that is orderly in our buildings. Is that correct? Or
President Wagers,
is there other mitigated things that I don't know about?
President Wagers, Trustee Gregory, that is correct. Versus just flipping tomorrow or the next day or next Monday to the new safety plan. They've been planning on that for the return from spring break. And we would like to ask that they still have that time to work that out. And that this would just be one piece of changing our current plan right now.
So the follow-up, President Wagers, I think this goes beyond just student behaviors, but it also goes to operational things that our custodial staff have been planning on, and our teacher practices and all those kinds of things. So I can see why you want to just move forward at the pace and the expectation that that we set for March 28th. So when the kids come back from school, from spring break, we'll be ready to implement the physical changes, et cetera, in the building and the practices that go along with our endemic plan.
Hold on. Superintendent Dennis will answer that.
President Wagers and Trustee Gregory, I think you said it very well. I just think it's important for the public and for our staff to understand that there's a lot of operational issues that we have to deal with beyond just the masking. And the updated health and safety plan from March that you all approved back in February contains all of those things. So all we're asking today is to talk about the mask mandate being removed, but leaving those other implementation dates in place so that we don't end up in a situation where we're having confusion as to what the other mitigation factors are.
Thank you, Superintendent.
I do have one question. So I know we've received numerous emails from lots of people once again on this, and there are some concerns on some families who are immunocompromised, and they feel like they won't be able to be in school during without masks. They just don't feel comfortable with that portion. Do we have plans in place to help accommodate those folks? I know part of the reason why we're waiting was we felt like we needed to be able to move to Boise Online School, but how will we handle those folks?
President Wagers, trustees, that's a great question. So we would ask all of our schools to work with any students that felt that they could not attend in person for the remainder of this quarter, and providing work at home, work through the Google Classroom, work through Seesaw, so that those students could work from home until they could make a transfer to Boise Online School for the fourth quarter.
You feel confident that you can accommodate as needed those cases?
President Wagers, trustees, we do.
Thank you.
It'd be very similar, pardon me, to what we're doing, if a student's on quarantine right now or out sick.
Trustee Hawes?
Yes, thank you, Superintendent or Deputy Superintendent Roberts. Has there been any thought on how to promote, I guess, a positive environment for those students and staff who desire to continue with the mask, or along those lines, if that makes sense? Thank you.
President Wagers, Trustee Haas, I appreciate that question. And the beauty of our schools is they are incredibly diverse already. And I think that our principals and our teachers and our counselors, all of our staff members, do a great job of honoring our students' personal choices in, clothing, in hairstyles, and all of those different things. I feel confident that they will make sure and support students that wear masks as well as students that do not wear masks.
President Wagers.
Trustee Gregory.
So if our plan is to move forward with masks recommended but optional, I would anticipate that we still have those students in our population who would choose to wear masks, and that our buildings would accommodate and our staff and our principals to make that a friendly environment for all. And I just have to say that our student bodies we've been through a really challenging time together. And I think that we can call on their abilities to look out, to be a citizen of their building, and to look out for the needs and accommodations of all their fellow citizens in their buildings. And it's just kind of a great civics lesson and a great opportunity to be a responsible citizen. So I would think that we'd have diversity, because we would have those who would still choose to mask, and we would have those who would choose not to mask. So that's just an observation on my part.
Superintendent Dennis.
President Wagers and Trustee Gregory, just to kind of dovetail a little bit on what you just said, I think it's important to remember that the values of our school district don't just end when a decision is made by the school board. And so the idea of respect and dignity and responsibility and teamwork and honesty all still are key values within our schools. So we have systems set up to handle differences of opinion and things like that. So I am confident that our kids and our students and our teachers and our staff are going to be able to navigate those individual choices.
President Wagers.
Trustee Oppenheimer.
Langley.
Langley, sorry, it's hard for me to tell all the time.
Yeah, no worries. So I was just curious, Deputy Superintendent, if we are going to continue offering the partnerships that we've offered, like with Boise State for testing and vaccination partnerships that we have in place, and masking resources to get masks provided for students who want them. All of those partnerships that have been so essential in the last 2 years.
President Wagers, Trustee Langley, yes, absolutely. We will continue those partnerships of offering vaccine clinics, of offering our testing sites. We did just receive another big order of test kits for our schools. We will continue to offer masks for folks that would like to get a mask through the school. We will continue all of those mitigation strategies and strategies we've used so far this year through the remainder of the school year. I will say that the testing has dropped off dramatically at some of our clinics. So we would look at for next year, would we offer as many or would we scale that back? I will have to say that our partnerships have been incredibly flexible and have very quickly opened up additional COVID testing sites for us.
Any other questions for the administration? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
President Wagers,
Trustee Langley,
I move that Boise Public Schools make face coverings encouraged for those who are unvaccinated and optional for those who are vaccinated based upon the factors that were outlined today, and that we adopt the updated health and safety plan as planned on March 28th.
and so the date for the motion would be, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't hear that.
And effective immediately.
Effective immediately or tomorrow, maybe?
Tomorrow. How about that?
It just for the work through on the piece.
I guess
So
we have a lot
effective,
of kids in school right now. We
sorry,
better
so
make
effective
it starting tomorrow morning.
on March 8th. Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second? Second from Trustee Hawes. So we have a motion on the table right now that we make face coverings encouraged for those who are unvaccinated and those optional for those who are vaccinated. And we make that effective March 8th. So is there discussion among the trustees on that motion?
President Wagers,
Trustee Schmidt.
you can always count on me for some discussion. So I just wanted to highlight again the fact that we have received a lot of correspondence from parents, patrons, and this decision again has two distinct positions, and they are opposed to each other. But I would say that parents on each side of the issue have valid reasons for their position. There are parents who are saying it's been long enough, remove the masks, and they have valid reasons for stating that. There are parents who have students who are saying, please keep the masks in place. And it makes it a no-win situation. Some people are going to, regardless of how this decision comes out, some people are going to be encouraged and others are going to feel burdened by it. And so as the discussion was taking place about how will we make sure that we've got an environment that's accommodating for regardless of your choice of masking or no masking, I think really that's critical. And so Superintendent Dennis, I think the reminder of the values is right on. In one of my conversations with one of the principals, we were talking about this back in December, that this has the potential to create just another class or just another category or separation. And so I think it will put additional burden on the teachers and the administration to help reinforce that positive environment. So I see this as a difficult choice as it's been all along. When I look at this, I want to make sure that we as the Boise School District are not choosing to do this to follow what another district is doing or follow what the CDC specifically says or follow any other state, that we're intentionally looking at this as what's best for the Boise School District given the circumstances that are in our district. And I think the things that I see as critical to that, the Deputy Superintendent Roberts listed things like the number of positive cases and the rate of spread. Some other things that I think about are the reduced severity of the illness right now, the effectiveness of vaccines at reducing the illness, and the fact that many people have natural immunity because they've already survived COVID, and then certainly the availability of our hospitals to support our needs in our community if we do see an uptick. And then also, I think it's critical that we're able to fill the needs in our classrooms. And so Deputy Superintendent Roberts listed many of those statistics. And so it's because of those things that I think that now is the right time for us to choose to go masks optional, being aware that there are people who disagree with that position and that their position is absolutely valid for their family. And so it's, I guess it's with conflicted feelings that I would support this.
Thank you, Trustee Schmidt.
The wagers.
Trustee Langley?
Thank you. So in thinking about this, I think that there are some kind of to follow up with what Trustee Schmidt said and what, of course, was outlined with our 4 areas that we're going to concentrate on in going forward and keeping masks off or on, depending on those factors: community transmission of infectious disease, spread of infectious disease in our schools, operational impact, student absenteeism, and input from our health professionals. Those 4 areas, but I go back also to thinking about the culture that we're setting going forward. We are all recognizing that we are creating an opportunity here for us to shine at our best, and recall that our strategic plan this year had mental health at the very top, and that we have stepped up in a way into that space that has done this school district very proud. And that we need to be more aware of that as we go forward with this, because there will be students who are at risk, who are masking continuously. Their families need to continue to mask. There will be children who feel like this is overdue for their families, and that differentiator can create that cultural strife where we will shine at our best by having anticipated that this year would be a year that we would step into mental health and support of the culture inside of our schools. And I applaud the district for having implemented many of the factors that they have this year. And just, I want to make us aware that we continue to put that in the forefront with this choice that we're going to make. And I personally want to move forward with masking, knowing that those factors are in place, with unmasking, I should say.
Thank you, Trustee Langley.
President Wagers.
Trustee Oppenheimer, did I get it right this time?
Yep, you got it right this time. I'll just echo what both Trustee Schmidt and Trustee Langley said. And, we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and things can shift on a dime. And I remember at the beginning of the school year where we had intended to go mask optional, and then all of a sudden, within a week or 2, everything shifted. And so thinking about our meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, where we were in a very different place than we were today. And it's amazing to see how the cases have really come down. And so I do feel like that we are in a safe place right now to be able to do this. I really appreciate the administration for working through this and being able to shift, and our teachers and all the folks in the classroom, they're helping to make this. I will be supporting the motion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Oppenheimer. Any other trustees?
President Wagers?
Trustee Hawes?
Yes, thank you. I just, a little reflection, I think, is in order. Yesterday afternoon, I had a chance to go mountain bike riding in our beautiful foothills, and couldn't help to think 2 years ago that hikers and bikers were walking on these same trails masked. And it wasn't too much longer than that that the Boise School District went into remote learning. And that's a concept that that at the time, prior to that, was totally unfathomable. It was not even in the realm of possibility. And soon after, students and staff had to deal with the new kind of stress, and that's the stress of trying to figure out how this remote learning works. So we've come a long way, and I know that today's decision seems minor because we're parsing out one of the mitigation strategies to be considered to take off the table. But I think I'd be remiss by not reflecting a bit on where we came from and where we're going. And Trustee Langley hit it on the head. I think our mantra became during the COVID crisis is that our strategic plan really was there to help guide us through. I think we could all agree that from the hip decision making or knee-jerk reaction decision-based approach wasn't prudent. And so, but there was no blueprint. So our mantra really was the strategic plan will help us guide us through. And one of the strategies, an additional strategy that I want to identify is that we provide an appropriate, safe learning environment. And I really looked at that a lot. I mean, and the question really in my mind became, what is appropriately safe? And what is appropriate really turns on what is appropriate for the members of our Boise School District family, not a family in another jurisdiction or another part of the state, but what is appropriate for our family of which we're all members of. And based on the stakeholder input that we received in the many meetings that we've had with our stakeholders and through a lot of listening, I've concluded what appropriate means is whether our kids, teachers, staff, parents, patrons are safe, and whether our kids have the opportunity for in-class learning 5 days a week with acceptable risk and the least amount of downside. And that's really been the road that I think I've struggled with the most is how do you balance keeping kids safe in school 5 days a week with an acceptable rate of appropriate risk with the least amount of downside. And I would comment along those lines on downside that I would say that each mitigation measure in itself, there's some downside. I would concede to that. And there's some robust discussion as to the effectiveness of each mitigation measure. But I would also say that regardless of where you stand on the effectiveness, the combined use of all mitigation measures provides the best protection against COVID. But in any event, school and community transmission, the availability and access to vaccines, the rate of student and staff absences due to COVID, and the status of our healthcare system, which was a critical decision, equally critical in my mind, dictate what risk and mitigation measures are appropriate. And so I would say that the current conditions of the school and the community transmission as identified by the administration today and our current condition of our healthcare system warrants the adjusting of our face covering mitigation measures as described. And I would support the motion. Now, two final notes. I just want to say that some patrons might feel that this decision, if passed, was speedy or in haste. But my reaction would be, if it does pass, is that this was carefully considered and in accordance with our plan and within CDC guidelines. And I'd also say it's consistent with the endemic committee's, I think, concept that I think we need to do a really good job of being laser focused in responding and addressing the ever-changing needs of COVID. And so I think it commits to that. And along those lines, if community spread increases, if we see spread increase within our schools, if staff and students are missing school and our healthcare is stressed, then our plan absolutely contemplates putting mitigation measures back on the table. So that's how I would address that concern. But I just want to say finally that I just want to thank the stakeholders. And I mean, we have to realize that we're part of one big family. We're the Boise School District family. And I want to thank the stakeholders for their input on what it should mean as far as what is appropriate for managing COVID in our schools. You know, of course, like any crisis facing a family, there's going to be differences in opinion. And we've got tens of thousands of people in this family. And so there's going to be differences in opinion. I felt lucky that I've had an opportunity to visit with patrons about their thoughts about how we manage COVID in our schools. For the most part, those discussions have been very respectful. There's been some good debate, and in some cases, we've just simply agreed to disagree. But I would just like to say, as this crisis hopefully fades, and I know we're not out of the woods, that I know myself and the rest of us are looking forward to continuing to promote our common interests that we have with our patrons, and to do what we can do to make sure our kids graduate as outstanding citizens who are prepared for college or career. So that's my final note. But for the reasons expressed, I support the motion on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hawes.
President Wagers.
Trustee Gregory.
I don't believe I have anything earth-shaking to add to the discussion that has already happened, except to say I want to express my gratitude to our health professionals and CDH professionals who have really gone above and beyond and walked this path with us. And I speak in the hopes that we're at the end of the path, acknowledging that we may not be. But I do echo Trustee Hawes's observation that we've really tried to address the needs of our community, recognizing that it's different 40 miles north, south, east, and west of us, as well as 4 states, north, south, east, and west of us, not north, but at any rate. We've really worked hard to address the needs of our community and keep our kids in school. And so salute and hats off to our teachers and to our kiddos who are out of kindergarten today. And to everyone who could just exercise good citizenship. So I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Gregory. That's why we do what we do, right there. Love it. I don't have anything to add other than thank you to the staff, to our teachers, to our custodians, to our food service workers, to continue to try and keep our kids safe and do those things. And we appreciate all you do. I know we will continue to have mitigation strategies still in place, and those will still need to be followed and done. And that doesn't happen without an organization that is, I think, like Trustee Hawes said, and was it's laser focused on taking care of kids and families and parents and a community. So thank you for that. With that, unless there's anything else, I think we can proceed to a vote. Any other comments? And I think Trustee Greeley is listening in, but she was unable to sign in, so she will not have a vote at this point. But so we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote with Trustee Clerk Mast.
President Wagers, I do have Trustee Greeley on speakerphone here. So she's not included in the vote?
Okay, well, if she's on speakerphone and we're verified that it is her, yes, then she can be included on the vote.
Yes. So we'll start. Trustee Greeley?
Aye.
Trustee Gregory?
Aye.
Trustee Hawes?
Aye.
Trustee Langley?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheimer?
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt?
Aye.
Trustee Wagers?
Aye.
Motion passes.
So motion passes. That's unanimous decision by the board. So as of tomorrow, March 8th, face coverings will be encouraged for those who are unvaccinated and optional for those who are vaccinated based on the current conditions. Of course, the board has, we can always look at this again. But right now that's where we are, and we're happy we're moving forward. We will continue with our current plan until March 28th, and then we will have the updated health and safety plan take place on March 28th. With that, I don't think there's any other comments. It was a one-item deal, so at this point, thank you, trustees, for attending. Thank you to the public.
President Wagers.
Motion to adjourn.
President Wagers.
Trustee Gregory.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Trustee Oppenheimer. All in favor, we'll do a voice vote.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Have a good afternoon, and we'll be educating today for a better tomorrow. Thank you again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be starting in the next 5 to 7 minutes. I would like to kindly request if we start getting seated. If we can start